Hello everyone. So the questions I will be answering today are why and how did we start God's Heart? So why we started God's Heart is because we felt the need to evangelize, but our only area of influence was social media. Therefore, we decided to use Facebook as our area of influence. So, the name God's Heart was inspired by Luke chapter 6, verse 45. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now, we believe that every word that God speaks towards us and about us, his children, comes straight from the depth of his heart. So, we are in a journey to discovering more about what God has to say about us, we, his children, that comes straight from his heart. In as much as I might have spoken out the idea, the entire process of birthing God's Heart was done through teamwork. Through God's grace, Gloria, Genesis, and I turned something that was merely ideal into something that has become real to all of us. Well, it's just the three of us were friends, and considering that we all had the same need to evangelize, so we just made a group on WhatsApp and made a Facebook page, and that's how God's Heart was birthed. Yeah. In a journey to grooming God's Heart, we have moved from a team of 3 to a team of 6 and a large community that is after God's heart.
Okay, so yeah, criteria. I basically feel like there's no really a criteria for joining God's Heart apart from you being a Christian. Maybe one thing I should just bring to mention is that right now, God's Heart is a closed group. Like we have 6 members, but the entire community is big. It's bigger than the 6 of us. We have people who come in as guests. We have people who monthly donate to help us with projects and things we're doing. We have you, our viewers. So like the community is big, but the people who are like spearheading were just the 6 of us, and it's still a closed group. Like we do not admitting new members. Yeah, but if you'd like to be a guest in any of our episodes, feel free to message us on our Facebook page, which is at God's Heart. We'll be glad to have you. But for criteria, as the question suggested, I would say you being a Christian.
Why did we move from Facebook to YouTube? I think mostly it's because we want to give people different options, different areas in which they can access the content that we put out there. So there's not really any difference between God's Heart on Facebook and God's Heart on YouTube. But most of the videos now will be found on YouTube, where we can actually reach more people than on Facebook. I'm not saying on Facebook we cannot reach more people, but then yeah, it's just we're taking it to the next level, people.
The album Mizu by Pompey, simply because I can relate to most of his tracks. You know, your favorite person is has got to be the person you relate to the most, right? So I think that's why it's my favorite.
So my favorite series from the movie and album review was the Tomorrow We Live by Flame or by KB, only because I like KB, and the review unfolded a new meaning to the songs that, yeah. My favorite album in that series, which still remains to be my favorite album by Elevation Worship, was Graves to Gardens.
So for me, my favorite review was a movie review, and that was I'm Not Ashamed. And the reason I loved I'm Not Ashamed is that I kind of enjoyed the kind of personal relationship Rachel had with God. It was honest, it was raw, and it was vulnerable. And honestly, that's something I admire and I would like to have with God. Yeah. So if you haven't watched the movie, I actually advise you to check it out.
My favorite review was KB's album, basically because I listen to a lot of gospel hip hop, and KB is actually one of my favorite gospel hip hop artists out there.
For me, I was saved in 2013. That's like 7 years from now. So I have been saved for 7 years. That's 7, right? Yeah, 7 years.
I became born again in 2013, and so I've been on my salvation journey for 7 years.
6 to 7 years. I think 6.5, 7 years or so, if I can remember very well. Yeah.
I've been saved for 3 years now. It has impacted me in so many ways because I've always wanted a platform to speak to people about God, and doing this just makes me feel like superwoman, because you get to tell people about God, about the Bible, which is basically life, and you're giving people life through your words. It's I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm really thankful for God's heart because yeah, and it's strengthened me spiritually, strengthening others strengthens yourself as well. So I guess I've grown in that aspect. And
I think God's heart has affected me in a lot of ways. Um, First, it has provided me with a family of 5 people who are really cool and are so enthusiastic and energetic about doing the work of God, and that is taking the word out there. And it has also impacted me because it has also brought out a certain aspect of me, a creative nature in me, as we are trying to edit the videos, make the posters, and all that. It kind of has improved my skill in that, and it has also taught me a lot of things, people's view about God, and getting to hear from people as they give their feedback on what we put out there. So yeah, it has grown me a lot.
Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, subscribe and hit the like button, and make sure when you subscribe you turn on the notification.
Sometimes it's like, sometimes I feel I'm not good.
I became born. 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 Bo- oh, sorry.